Well, now to revelations, the Biden administration is putting pressure on Albanese to oppose an extreme pro-Palestinian motion at the United Nations that calls for Israel to immediately withdraw from Gaza. Now, to be clear, this motion demands an unconditional withdrawal from Gaza. It calls for sanctions and travel bans on Israelis and a ban on arms sales to the Jewish state. It also supports global boycotts on Israeli companies. That is just simply racist and anti-Semitic. It can't be described as anything other than pro-Hamas. And yet again, this demonstrates how the United Nations is a discredited body that no longer protects the very people it was created to act as a guardian over. This UN motion would mean forgetting about the hostages and allowing a terror group to remain in control, free to commit massacres of Jews over and over again. It's absurd that the Americans have to pressure Australia to vote down this UN motion. Australia was once a sound and rational, reliable international partner that could be relied on to be a friend of Israel. Now, no longer. Now, Penny Wong hasn't said whether Australia will support this or not, but that it's even a consideration is unthinkable. She declined to comment today when we contacted her office. The coalition's position is that Albanese and Penny Wong should categorically oppose this UN motion. And really, this is a statement of the obvious. But here was Shadow Foreign Affairs Minister Simon Birmingham on Pete Stefanovic this morning, and he made the point that this is a one-sided motion that the government just shouldn't support.
It is a motion that would be deeply counterproductive to long-term peace efforts, and it's an entirely one-sided motion that makes no mention at all of Hamas, of the horrors and atrocities committed back on October 7 last year, or of the hostages who have now continued to be held for almost a year.
And importantly, Birmingham pointed out how Australia is now becoming out of step with our closest international ally, the United States.
The decision for the Albanese government should be clear-cut. That should be to oppose it, to stand with friends and allies, and to continue to support long-standing bipartisan policy in Australia about how we ultimately negotiate a two-state solution for Israel and the Palestinian people.
Now, Colin Rubenstein, who joined me here on the show tonight, he says the UN motion supports setting up an international commission of inquiry that would effectively dismantle Israel as a Jewish national home. He calls this an ultra-extreme motion. He says it would be the ultimate reward for terrorism, turning October 7 into a victory for Hamas. And Colin Rubenstein says mass murder, rape and torture would not be punished. Instead, they would become the successful Palestinian tactics that prompted the international community to attempt to impose, via coercion, all the extremist demands of the Palestinian leadership. It's bewildering how terrorism has come to be excused by the international community. And it's a sad indictment on the United Nations, the very organisation set up to protect Jews in the wake of the Holocaust. It now perpetuates anti-Semitism and acts as a vehicle for bloodthirsty terrorists and evil regimes like Iran seeking to dismantle the Jewish state. How has this come to pass?